All right, let's dive right in. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down a really powerful idea: how to get your organization out of that constant firefighting mode and start building something that's actually built for the future.
So let me ask you something. Does this feel a little too familiar? You walk in, the day starts, and bam, you're immediately getting pulled into one urgent, totally unexpected problem after another. It feels like you spend every single minute just reacting, right? With absolutely no time left to actually think ahead.
This quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of being completely and utterly trapped. It's this vicious cycle where the urgent stuff always shoves the important stuff out of the way. And the crazy part is, your team probably has the skills to make things better, but they're just never given the time or space to do it.
But what if I told you there was a structured way out of all this chaos? Well, there is, and it's all about a journey up what's known as the maturity ladder. This journey, this ladder, it has 4 really distinct levels. You start in pure survival mode, which is the reactive level. Then you start getting organized in the emerging stage. After that, you build real momentum in proactive. And finally, you reach the top, operational excellence as a world-class organization. The most important thing here is to be brutally honest about where you are right now, so you can figure out how to get to that next rung.
Okay, so let's start at the bottom. Level 1, reactive. And get this, about half of all organizations are stuck right here. This is that constant fighting mode we've been talking about. It's where your best, most talented people are burning their days on urgent, but ultimately low-value tasks, instead of doing the strategic work that actually moves the needle. It's pure survival.
The first real step up this ladder is to the emerging level. And this is where a little bit of hope starts to creep in. The organization finally admits, okay, this chaos isn't working, and you start to document what's going wrong so you can actually learn from your mistakes. This is the very beginning of intentional progress.
Now we're getting somewhere. Reaching the proactive level puts your organization in the top 20%. This is where real discipline starts to take over. You're not just reacting to problems anymore. You have clear goals for excellence, and you've got systems in place to make sure issues are solved quickly, decisively, and for good.
And then you have the pinnacle, the very top of the ladder. We're talking world class. This is the elite group, the top 5%. Everything they do is documented, it's verifiable, they have spotless safety records, and they consistently deliver incredible value. This is the ultimate goal. This is what we're aiming for.
So you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a lot of work. Why even bother climbing this ladder? What's the actual tangible payoff for all this effort? Well, the return on investment for becoming more strategic is, well, it's frankly incredible.
I want you to really look at this number. We are talking about a 200 to 400% return on investment. And no, that is not a typo. These are the kinds of massive, measurable gains we're seeing over just a 3 to 5 year period of disciplined improvement.
I know what you're thinking. A number that big can sound almost impossible, right? So how does that actually happen? Where in the world do those kinds of gains come from? Let's break it down and look at the specific areas where you see these huge improvements.
So, where does a return that massive come from? It's not magic. It comes from making huge gains in the most critical parts of your business. I mean, just look at these 3 examples. We're talking about a major boost in how effectively you use your labor, a sharp drop in inventory costs, and a huge reduction in all that expensive downtime.
And the impact is felt absolutely everywhere. It's not just one thing. It's this powerful chain reaction, right? Better labor utilization means your people are more effective. Slashing inventory and purchasing costs frees up a ton of cash. And less downtime means you're more productive, more reliable. Each one of these gains just amplifies all the others.
Okay, so the results are pretty compelling, right? The why is crystal clear. Now let's get to the how. How does an organization actually make this climb? The path forward is built on a really clear 3-part blueprint.
The entire journey, everything we've talked about, rests on these 3 pillars. And the order is absolutely critical. It all has to start with mastering your data because you simply cannot plan what you can't measure. From there, you master your planning, which turns all that insight into a real strategy. And finally, you master your execution, which turns that strategy into real-world results.
So let's start with data. In a reactive organization, people waste an insane amount of time hunting for information in a dozen different systems, only to find out that the data is wrong or it's incomplete. Now contrast that with a world-class organization. They have a single source of truth, they've got strong data governance, and they've turned their data from a liability into a massive strategic asset.
And once you have that solid foundation of reliable data, well, your planning is completely transformed. It's like night and day. The chaos of everybody having their own schedule, the constant delays, the waiting around for parts and people, it's all replaced by synchronized operations. Things become predictable because your work estimates are accurate and you know exactly when your resources will be available.
And finally, this is where it all comes together. Execution. Instead of making decisions based on guesswork because capturing data is a total nightmare, world-class organizations use tools to make it seamless. Key performance indicators, the KPIs, the actual numbers, drive every single decision, not gut feelings, and that leads you to a state where over 90% of your work gets done exactly as you planned it.
So, after going through this whole framework, it's probably a good time to just take a moment and reflect. When you look at your own organization, which of these descriptions feels the most true?
You know, it's really important to understand this isn't just about tweaking a few processes here and there. This journey, from reactive all the way to world-class, it's a fundamental transformation of how your business operates. It's a complete shift in mindset, from just surviving the day to strategically building your future.
Ultimately, choosing to climb this ladder, that's an active decision you have to make. But maybe the more important question isn't about the effort it's going to take to climb. Maybe the real question you should be asking yourself is, what's the actual tangible cost of staying right where you are?